Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are talking about what is up with eyeball tattoos. You may have seen these online here and there, but they're pretty rarely done. Eyeball tattoos are an extreme body modification. I would say one of the most extreme that you can get. And that's because it's a pretty risky procedure. And when you get an eyeball tattoo, there's absolutely no going back. So these are pretty interesting. There's definitely a lot to talk about. So let's jump into what is up with eyeball tattoos. So eyeball tattoos are referred to as scleral tattoos. And technically these aren't even tattoos at all, because the dictionary definition of tattoos specifies that it's a marking of the skin. And eyeball tattoos are a small injection of ink in the white part of your eye. Your eyeball is definitely one of those areas that is super sensitive. If you've ever had to touch your eyeball for any reason, you'll know that it's just an area of your body that wants to be left alone. And I get that. So being that your eye is so extremely sensitive, scleral tattooing is extremely dangerous because you have to be incredibly precise with where you place the ink in the eye to not damage the eye at all. So the wall of your eyeball has 3 layers, but today we're going to focus on 2 of those layers. There's the sclera, which is the white part of your eye, and then above that there's something called the conjunctiva, and that is the clear layer on the outside of the white part of your eye. The goal of scleral tattoos is to inject the ink in between these 2 layers so that the ink will spread out and sit in between the white part of your eye and that clear layer. This is an incredibly difficult thing to pull off, and it really requires a surgeon's level of preciseness to get the ink exactly where it needs to be. And unfortunately, this process has been done by individuals that really don't have the skill set, and this has led to visual impairment, blindness, permanent pain in the eye, and even loss of the eye entirely. If you weren't already 100% convinced to absolutely never do this, sometimes the scleral tattooing process, even if it goes well, it might leave you with the constant feeling that something is stuck in your eyeball. Forever. That sounds like torture to me. I always get cat hair in my eyeball from my cat, and I hate that feeling. So imagine having that feeling every day for the rest of your life and it doesn't go away. No. Scleral tattooing was invented by tattoo artist Luna Cobra and his associate Shannon Lerotte in late 2007. The details of this gets a little bit confusing, but Sharon Lerotte's wife, Rachel, got a jewelry implanted in her eye by a Dutch eye surgeon named Gerrit B.J. Meleis. And this doesn't even sound real, but I promise you this is This is the origin story of eyeball tattoos. But the technique that the Dutch eye surgeon did on Rachel was injecting a small amount of saline solution into that layer between the sclera and the conjunctiva. And then they inserted the jewel as well into that layer. And then the saline solution just kind of dissipated. So when Shannon heard that his wife had gotten this done, he had thought that you could do this with tattoo ink, and that would leave a color right above the white of your eye. So the tattoo artist Luna Cobra experimented on 3 individuals who consented to getting their eyeballs injected with ink for the purpose of figuring out if this could actually work. And the 3 volunteers were Shannon Lerotte, Joshua Matthew Ron, and Paul Mowry, who is today known as Farrah Flawless. These 3 individuals got their eyeballs tattooed successfully by Luna Cobra, and this was the start of scleral tattooing. What's interesting about this group is that of the 3 volunteers, Farrah Flawless is the only one still alive today. The other 2 unfortunately passed away of unrelated circumstances, but that makes Farrah Flawless the only person in the world who has had scleral tattoos for the longest period of time. Luna Cobra is still doing this procedure today, and also doing a variety of other body modifications as well. In an interview with Allure magazine, Luna explained that he actually takes a lot of time talking people out of eyeball tattoos, and is very cautious about the practice in general. Luna said, quote, "To be honest, every person that contacts me about eyeball tattoos gets the same letter back." He says, quote, "I explain they really should invest in quality contacts and wear those for a long time. If they insist on the real thing, I tell them if you think there's even a possibility you might not want this in the future, please do not get it done because you can't reverse it." So even the inventor of eyeball tattoos is extremely cautious about this process. I feel like that should tell you a lot about eyeball tattoos. And what's also really interesting to me is that Luna Cobra himself does not have his eyeballs tattooed. I feel like that also says a lot. Maybe he just doesn't trust anyone else to do it. And honestly, I do not blame the guy at all. I do really appreciate Luna Cobra's caution and carefulness with these eyeball tattoos. And I think you can really see that when you look at his work and you see that a lot of the eyeballs aren't fully flush with color. And I think that's because he is erring on the side of caution, because something you really want to avoid is injecting too much ink into the eyeball at one time. This can be really, really damaging to your eye. So they kind of rely on injecting small amounts of ink in various places and letting the ink spread over a few days. So when you see more of like a splotchy, diffuse color, I think that shows that the artist is erring on the side of caution. And if individuals want to get fully saturated color, they can go in for multiple sessions. It's just more careful. For the choice of color, Luna also tries to talk people out of getting black, even though that's the most popular requested color. Luna told BBC News that, quote, "I try to keep people away from it, especially if they have dark irises." He said, "I tell them you're going to look frightening forever to the majority of people you encounter. You might find people have trouble connecting with you or looking at you because they can't follow your iris." Luna also said that he urges young people to wait until they already have a job before getting their eyeballs tattooed, because he says they may never get hired with colored eyeballs. Imagine showing up to work one day just randomly with like blue eyeballs. My boss would make me turn right around and go home for sure. Luna Cobra definitely is experienced, and he works really hard to make sure none of his clients are harmed. And he's tattooed the eyeballs of many really accomplished tattoo artists, like Michaela Botten, who is an incredible anime tattoo artist. I'm sure you've seen her on Inked magazine. Her work is incredible. Luna Cobra also did Grace Neutral's eyeballs, and I really like the subtleness of Grace's purple hue. I think this is like the only eyeball tattoo that I actually do like on Grace Neutral, and that might just be because I love Grace Neutral and I've been obsessed with her for so long. If you guys have ever watched any of her documentaries on ID, like me, let me know, because I love her. And she's also an amazing tattoo artist. So aside from Grace, I am definitely not a fan of eyeball tattoos, honestly, and I feel like I'm usually all for artistic expression and tattoos in general, but I just cannot get behind eyeball tattoos. I definitely don't recommend this one. I think it's too experimental, it's too risky, and your eyesight is not worth it. There are many individuals who have gotten botched eyeball tattoos, and I'm not going to go into detail about any of their stories here, They're very easy to find online if you are interested, but the stories are kind of hard to hear, honestly, and they were hard for me to read when I was researching this. It's just not good at all. Many people are very seriously and permanently injured from attempting to get their eyeballs tattooed. So I do not recommend this one whatsoever. If you are absolutely set on getting your eyeballs tattooed, I think you should go to Luna Cobra and Luna Cobra only. I think that they are the most experienced and Luna Cobra has the best track record. But again, I would really recommend just not doing this at all. Something you can do instead of getting your eyeballs tattooed is getting your eyelids tattooed. So your eyelids, we know what eyelids are, they're the skin on top of your eyeballs. It's similar, it's way safer, and you're not gonna go blind. So I wanted to end this video more on a high note and talk about eyelid tattoos. Now I am team eyelid tattoos. I think these are very cool. I love how they are half the time hidden when your eyes are open, obviously, but I love the look of them. I think that they're so unique, so different, super striking. Most people get text. I think they're really cool. Now the eyelid skin is also very delicate. In fact, the skin on your eyelids is one of the thinnest parts of skin on your body. This Tattoo article compares the thinness of your eyelid skin compared to a bicep. And the author wrote, if biceps were leather, eyelids would be parchment paper. Shout out to Tattoo writers, because they're always just 10 out of 10. They're so good. Tattoo artist Indy Voet tattoos in Brussels in Belgium, and he tattoos his clients' eyelids by using the hand poke method instead of using a tattoo machine. Indy is quoted to say, I hand poke them personally because it helps me control my strength and delicateness while tattooing such fragile spots. Tattooing eyelids is, in a sense, pretty similar to other spots, but it's also not the easiest to stretch, and it's very susceptible to blowouts. The pain level for eyelid tattoos reportedly varies quite a bit. Some people saying it's the worst pain they've ever experienced getting tattooed, others saying it's not that bad. So it seems like there's not really a clear consensus on the pain level, it's just variable. And the risk factor for eyelid tattoos is very similar to pretty much any other tattoo in that you want to make sure you're going to a professional and skilled tattoo artist. The only thing to keep in mind is that eyelid tattoo aftercare is extremely important. And that's because eyelids are highly susceptible to infection because each eyelid contains about 75 oil glands, and this can get in the way of your tattoo healing. In very severe cases of untreated eye infections from clogging and bacteria in your pores can lead to a loss of vision. So that's something to keep in mind, but that's only in the severe cases where infections go untreated. But that is all I have to talk about with regards to tattoos being on and in the eye. You guys know what I think about tattoos in the eye. That's just an absolute no from me. Just get one on your eyelid. And contacts are great. That's what I think, but I would love to know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you have, leave me this emoji in the comments so that I know that you are a real one. Bye everyone.